Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super-Fanta-Fi. This being a show we're talking about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and/or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of the Outpost. A lot of stuff went down in this episode, so let's break it down. First and foremost, let's start off with Garrett. Garrett trying to kill Gwen. But in that moment, it brings back all his memories and obviously like that deep connection he has with Gwen. And then his brain starts, a combination of who he really is, plus what, being the blade of the three, like the contradiction in his mind, like it becomes too much for him to handle. Then he finds a photo of Gwen and her family, and it's like, wait, it's not the same photo he saw in the Capitol. So now it drives him even more insane to the point he was going to kill himself just because he was like, holy crap, the cloud around the fog is lifting, because he's not taking that medicine that, Janzo ended up destroying last episode. So now he's seeing clearer now, and it's like all the terrible stuff I've done, which Gwen stops him. But for him, it's like, I gotta leave. The fact of the matter is, I tried to kill you. I tried to kill Talon. Hell, I even killed my father, which I'm still kind of like, holy shit, we're sticking with that, huh? There ain't no reversing that. Like I thought maybe maybe they would, but I guess they needed Garrett, what role he could play. He could be a vital asset. So that's why the three helped bring him back from kind of death. I don't know if they did the same thing for Withers or not. Why would they? They already got their warrior. Why would they need him otherwise? So regardless, he played his role to be the sacrifice needed to push Garrett to be the full blade of the three. But regardless, now it's like, okay, so what is Garrett going to do? Garrett wants to leave. He even goes to Janzo being like, yo, tell me where Talon is. I am curious why he's going specifically to Talon, because I guess for him, because he's about to go into the, as he says, the lion's den again, and he's going to try and get close to the three and kill them because they're the ones that made him into this. But I think he's trying to track down Talon because before he does this, he wants to say goodbye. He wants to apologize and make things right and one last time be himself around her, which Janzo's kind of like, oh, you're not with Gwen right now because she's with Tobin, so obviously you decided you're going to go to Talon. And it's like, it's not like that, but at the same time, it's like he does have a special connection with Talon, so why not meet with the other person that you care about one last time. So which I'm skipping ahead here and everything, but truth be told there is an opportunity for Garrett and Talon now, because to be frank, Gwen's all booed up now because of Tobin, which obviously you can tell even throughout the episode, it's still complicated. It did not go the route I thought, Gwen would have a hard time. It's like, no, it's more so, it's not that she can't forgive Garrett for what he's done, he can't forgive himself, but she easily can. But the whole thing is because she is with Tobin, plus it's the whole thing of yeah, I kind of screwed you over once, Tobin, with this whole Garrett thing. I feel kind of shitty, especially because it's the whole situation of putting her people. Yes, she likes Tobin, but there's always going to be a special place in her heart for Garrett. But it's more so I like Tobin and I care for him, but it's more so than anything, this is about getting an army and protecting our people. So I kind of have to put, my duties as a queen first before my, personal feelings. So it's kind of leaning into what Garrett had talked about before, about kind of a real queen not putting her personal feelings there. So it's she's almost taking that advice unintentionally, but this is her doing what she thinks is right. So that leads that whole complicated situation. Obviously, they kissed for a moment. I was almost like, oh, please don't let Tobin walk in. It's like, oh, luckily he didn't, but still it's kind of oh, that's kind of rough. I love that Janzo followed Brogan back to their mom, and found out about Eleanor's operation. I love that she tried to throw Brogan under the bus. Oh man, you get out of here. You're fired. Oh, Janzo, I only just found out. He's like, I'm not stupid, Mom. This is what you'd be doing. I'm literally trying to cure plaguelings, and you are literally making more of them by selling Calypso. And she's like, oh, come on. And so I love it. It's we're going to tell Gwen. And then Eleanor's like, yeah, let's tell Gwen. My little operation might be what saves the day. And then obviously the whole conversation, and Gwen's kind of like, so why? You literally know it's a pandemic, this whole plagueling thing, and you're helping make more Eleanor, and she's like basically taking my idea from the last episode, because I thought that's what she had immediately thought of, but no, it took this episode being found out to make her go, oh, I know how to help us with the whole Milos situation, because the whole thing is like all they need to do is take him out, but his army's loyal to him, so they'll stand in the way, which even if we do get the upper hand and win this fight, we're killing the army that we're planning to get, so it's kind of a lose-lose situation. So it's their way of trying to find a way around it, and that is Eleanor's idea to use plaguelings to attack. It's like, well, no, they'd only turn into plaguelings if they had Calypso in their system. She's like, well, what if I could tell you definitely they have Calypso in their system, because I've been selling Calypso to the soldiers in Milos's army, and most of them have been doing it. And Gwen's like, oh my god. It's just like, because Gwen didn't want to know about all the shady stuff that Eleanor did, but now she's seeing the grand scheme. It's just kind of like, oh, I kind of wish I could go back to being ignorant, but nope. So I do like they let the plan go through. I even love that Garrett's up there actually being like, honestly, Eleanor, this is a pretty ingenious plan. She's like, I always knew I liked you. So I liked it too, because obviously Gwen goes along with the plan, but obviously it's not something that sits well with her, because it's like she's sending plaguelings to kill people. It's like, even if they are technically the enemy at this point in time, it's still kind of like, it's still a little shitty, that this is happening, because it's like, yes, they're the enemy right now, but this is still people that you're potentially killing and turning into plaguelings. So the way it seems like later on, where she's like, oh, you can be behind the walls while we deal with this whole plagueling situation, it almost sounds like she spun it, where it's like, oh my god, those plaguelings attacking you, wow, such terrible timing. And it's like, I think so. I mean, why would you admit that, hey, we sent those plaguelings after you? Because all that would do is they would never trust you. I didn't even think about that as an aspect of like, oh yeah, like, if they knew that you sent the plaguelings, they wouldn't be all for it. But now it's like, oh, you came here and you actually kind of saved us. Yeah, we're kind of out here on our own. We were kind of our own undoing. It's kind of sad too, because Milos, he might not have had Calypso in his body at that point, but the moment we see that plagueling hit, inject him, he immediately takes some Calypso afterwards. I mean, that could just be showing the fact that he is one of those people who has a Calypso habit, so it might not have been that was his first hit. He might have taken other hits beforehand that we just didn't get to see, but that was just to let you know ahead of time, oh, he's about to go plagueling, which, Tobin later on comes and finds him and puts an end to him, which it's very befitting if anyone, like, even though him and his cousin had that blood feud, that just goes back to their fathers and everything, he still kind of felt bad, because he was like, I'm sorry, cousin. But you can also make the argument this is all kind of going the way Tobin kind of wants it to, because, hey, he kind of helped out Gwen, so it's kind of a win-win-win situation, because you got your cousin out of the way, and this just solidifies your position and everything, that, this army that, yes, it's Gwen's, but technically they're kind of under your banner too, so it's just kind of like I said, it's kind of a win all around for Tobin, so that's kind of interesting. I did like the fact is that he was like, oh, Garrett, you're leaving. Oh, I'm so sad. If only we gotten a chance to know each other. It's like, well, maybe we will. It's like, wait, you're coming back? Obviously, like I said, he's already kind of gotten screwed over because of this whole Garrett thing beforehand. Your wedding got broken up because of this, and it's like, I don't want to take any chances, be on your way or whatnot, so it's, like I said, very, very complicated romantic situation in that regard. There's also Janzo still looking for his cure for plaguelings, but that gets expedited even more, or has to be at the very least, because for one, he's got to cure the potential army of Gwens before they end up becoming plaguelings, dividing people up and being like, oh, most likely infected and those who most likely aren't infected. I do like that it's not a guarantee. It's like, I love that some people come at me and say, oh, you get the hell over here. I know you're infected. I don't even have to examine you to know that. It happened a few times. But it's not just that. It also turns out Eleanor gets infected, ironically enough, while she's going on and on about like all the coins she made. And it's like, if she hadn't done the operation, if she hadn't been doing her little side business the way it has been, like, we wouldn't be in this position right now. So you should be thanking me. And lo and behold, she ends up getting bit. And it's like, oh, Mom, tell me you haven't been doing Calypso. And it's just like, yep, she has. It's like, the typical, the whole general dealer thing is supposed to be, don't get high off your own supply, so which is interesting because it's not like you were ignorant to the whole situation. You know how plaguelings come about, so why would you ever do Calypso? And it's like, I get it, you want to be rich, so who cares about other people, but you yourself, why would you do that? Especially because you're around other plaguelings a lot because of your operation, so why would you even take that chance? But I guess it's because she's like, oh, I got everything under control. I can enjoy my high without having to worry about, being infected. It's just super reckless in my opinion, and it kind of came back to bite her in the ass. It's actually kind of interesting because they had made a point like earlier at the beginning of the season that they had spread the message around, but I guess most people either ignored it or because Miles and his people, they had Calypso in their system. I guess it's that whole thing of like, yeah, it's like it's addictive enough that the addiction kind of outweighs like the potential threat and whatnot. Because once again, the message went out there at the beginning of the season. They were just like, most people ignored it anyway. Because even Janzo was like, why are people still doing Calypso and why is it super popular? Because of the whole addictive nature of it. Like I said, when you're an addict, I guess that any danger of it. I mean, that obviously has real world application just because, doing this potential drug could kill me, but, in some people's mind, it's like, it feels good. So I think that's the parallel I'm making, to this. So it's interesting. Janzo, tries to find what he believes to be the thing that made the other two people get cured, because that is kind of interesting. Because it's like, you should sneeze at the fact is that I, have cured 2 plaguelings, which to be fair, he has to cure hundreds, if not like 100, plus have to hurry up before his mom turns plagueling too. So, but he tries out the new cure and it ends up killing the dude that they're testing it on. And I love Eleanor's, they're beating on his chest, I guess, to make sure that he's dead. It's like, well, you're not going to try that on me because we don't want you killing your dear old mom. So get back to work, Janzo. He's like, right, sure thing, Mom. So that's an element to everything. There's also a little note I like in the episode with Naya. She shows up and confronts Dredd and gets the revelation that like, oh yeah, because she's like, come on, tell me where my family is, because obviously they mean nothing to you. And he's like, right, they do mean nothing to me, and they did mean nothing to me. That's why I killed them years ago. And it's like, and there it is. I figured as much. I had very little hope that her family was still alive, but because what would be his reasoning too? Like, just lying was enough to kind of get you to do all this terrible stuff. So it's like, and even him's like, oh yeah, he actually, I think on some twisted level, he's actually kind of like, oh man, it's kind of sucky. You did all that for nothing. You've literally done all this stuff, betraying the people that you got so close to. Obviously, you fell in love with Janzo. Gwen kind of became your best friend, and you betrayed all of them for a family that doesn't exist anymore because I killed them years ago and I was just stringing you along. So yeah, but Naya got her revenge by being like, yeah, you might have taken a lot from me, which you have, but the one thing you can't take away from me is the look on your face when I do this. And she stabs him, and not just stabs him, she twisted the knife a little bit. So hopefully he kind of gets his just desserts in that regard, because he's done a lot of terrible stuff. Let's not forget he was behind Talon's, village being attacked, and now this. I am curious to see what Naya does, because like she kind of can't. She wants to go back to the outpost and warn everybody about what's coming, but still it's going to be a thing of like, well, doing that you'll be kind of, well, if you go back, you will be tried as a traitor. Like, you got away once, you can't go back again. But to be fair, her friend is there, and also the man that she loves is there, so I'm sure it's also going to be her way to kind of make up for the mistakes she's made. So there's that whole element to everything as well. I'm assuming that's just going to be an immediate like, oh, I'm going to jump to this whole situation. I'm curious, like, I'm sure very few people know about Naya and Dredd's connection. That's probably a connection he kept very solemn to himself. I'm curious where his ally is. What's her name? S? The lady that he hired last season. She was only, the last time we saw her was in the episode where they quote unquote killed Garrett, but obviously they took him back. Like, we haven't seen her since. Like, maybe, well, she's a mercenary, so they most likely, she just got paid and went about her way. But other than that, it's like, I'm curious, is she ever going to pop up again? But like, I doubt Naya's going to have any trouble leaving the capital, which is interesting because obviously Garrett was supposed to be on his way there, but obviously that's going to be after he meets up with Talon, which then we also got to talk about everything that Talon went through this episode. First and foremost, they take the new key, they take it to that, like, what, temple or shrine, and it's actually kind of interesting, kind of hearing the story from Zed about the constellations and stuff like that. He knows them so well because him and his mom used to look up at the stars. But obviously, that was before she died in a war that took place before they got banished. Basically, it turns out there's this little pedestal that ends up getting summoned up and afterwards and everything. And it's like, okay, so what's so special about this? And it turns out that basically it's a kinge. This is where the kinge kind of not necessarily come from, but one place, I guess, a chosen black blood gets access to them. And so he gets the only kinge. I'm curious how that whole situation worked, because like that bug there bit him and the kinge went to him. But I guess that's a little, maybe that thing is kind of like the mother. Well, I guess I'm curious, like maybe each bug has like one kinge that it passes on, and then it's just kind of a normal bug for now. Because that bug that after it gave it to Zed kind of went back in the hole. So it's like, are there no more kinges in that particular bug anymore? So that was like the last of the last. It's actually kind of interesting. I really like that we get a little bit of like a lore dump, kind of breaking down like basically there are a whole bunch of kinges. Like the Astra kinge inside a Talon is very special. It has the power to open the portals. The one that Zed has can't do the same. Like basically he says like, oh, basically there are supposed to be 6 other kinges. And I guess at some point other warriors got it. So I'm assuming that must mean that some black bloods, maybe black bloods that were sealed in the land of shadow and ash, ended up getting them, or maybe just regular warriors came and squished the bugs, maybe not knowing how important or special they were. I don't know, but he's like, I don't know what this power is, so he's asking Talon for help. But then later on we see him use it, and I'm like, oh, I guess he figured it out. Turns out it's a mind control ability and everything, so I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And then he proceeds to not tell Talon about it, and even lies about it. And it wasn't, because I did kind of think to myself, I was like, oh, it's kind of interesting. Oh, just how did you know to kind of utilize it like that, huh? It didn't even cross my mind to be like, oh no, he lied. He knew from the beginning what particular ability he had and how to activate it. But, he wanted to play ignorant. But the moment, like, it's like, oh, no, because, Zed was like, oh, we could go back, get our people free from the land of shadow and ash, and then, just live our lives and rebuild our home back there. And she's like, yeah, we can do that, but after we get Gwen's blessing. And he's just like, oh, all this crap about, like, getting Gwen's blessing. She'll never give us her blessing willingly, basically, and being like, and there I was like, okay, so you're going to use your power to get Gwen to bend to your will, which is interesting. Because let's not forget, he's admitted it. He hates humans. He does not have the faith. Well, because Talon has grown up more around humans that, yeah, there are hateful ones, but there are humans that she loves and cares about, who she call friends and allies. So, she's had a more positive experience with humans, which is saying a lot, to black bloods. It hasn't always been the easiest thing so far. So it's a complicated relationship all around on both sides of everything for her, but still. I think that's what makes her position so special, because she is a black blood, but at the same time, like, she cares for humans, and she does care for black bloods, but not as much. It's because that's a world she doesn't know, because every time she turns around, the black bloods are people she can't really trust. You can't trust your own people, because it's like, oh, you were locked away, but why were you locked away? Oh, just because my tribe ended up betraying yours. Obviously, it seems like there's a lot more to that, but regardless, Zed ends up saving her from a gray skin, and she's like, wait a minute, you have control over power? You lied to me. He's like, no, okay, this isn't. He's like, oh, so what were you going to do, just use me? And he tries to use the kinge on her. I'm like, it's not going to work, is it? Totally doesn't. I'm like, yeah. And she's like, were you trying to mind control me? You could see he was scared. He's like, shit, I thought that was going to work. I love that look on his face. And they proceed to fight, and she kind of kicks his ass. I thought that was kind of interesting. I'm assuming the kinge that she has is kind of like the leadership kinge, so it's kind of like kind of a nerdy reference. It's kind of like the Conqueror's Will from One Piece. Like, everyone with, like, the will of D, like, the initial D, like, it's, a will that people get. Like, if you're familiar with One Piece, you kind of get what I'm talking about. But I think it's kind of a similar thing. Like, it's kind of like the kinch that she has is kind of the conqueror. None of the others can work, which does beg the question, because like we'll probably never know. I mean, not unless it comes out later on that like, oh, other people did in fact get the other 5, but what were the other 5 abilities? As you can see, one opens the portal, and that's the main one, and then like the one that has, like I said, has mind control. So there's that. She wants to kill him because he betrayed her, but it's like, yeah, especially because he made such a point to be like, oh, treachery here and there. But like the moment he was kind of like being like, yeah, we can finally save our people, and then Talon was like, and the queen, and he was like, yeah, sure, whatever. I'm like, yeah, he's got his own intentions with all of this from the very beginning. He was using Talon, but it was a thing of like, I was hoping I wouldn't have to use you. I was hoping that you'd willingly help. So it shows that like the whole Black Blood situation back in the land of Shadow Ash, it's not as like black and white as he tried to make it seem. Like, yeah, we have our issues, but we do everything we do simply to survive. The Black Fists are deplorable, all the stuff that they've done. I would never do the stuff that Reb's brother did. I might hate humans, but I'm like, I don't know. Things might be a little more one-sided to a certain extent, but she does send him back through the portal, which immediately I'm like, oh, that's interesting, but also at the same time, it's like, oh, he's going to come back as a villain because not only did you send him through the portal, he has to Kinge, which he's got literally an army of Black Bloods on both sides. Because I mean, it might, even if people, he might, who knows, for all we know, he might be the runt of the litter. So it might be like all the Lakiri, all the Black Bloods, or maybe he has to get certain Black Bloods under his belt, because when he gets control of them, he automatically has control of their Lakiri, because it's kind of like, oh, you do what I say, and because you're doing what I'm saying, your Lakiri is following your orders, who's following mine. So maybe that's the whole thing. There's a whole bunch of people for him to control. Now that in itself brings up the question of like, well, how does his power work? We're going down the whole like Kilgrave from Jessica Jones situation of like, okay, so can you control people for a short period of time? Because we saw him test drive it with that Prime Order soldier sticking his hand in the fire. But the thing is, like, can it be like a single command at a time? Can you control a whole bunch of people at once? Does it take years of practice? Well, because we know the time in the land of Shadow and Ash works differently than in this realm. So that begs the question, like, we could do some like hyperbolic time chamber thing of like training, so because like a few minutes there turned out to, or like a few minutes or a few hours turned into like a full day in this room. You get what I'm trying to say. So maybe by the time we see him again, he has the power so that like, he can control everyone at once, kind of compulsion type of thing. But like I said, is there going to be a limit to it? Is it a permanent thing? Is it kind of like, I made enough anime references enough for today, and other references. I'll leave it at that. I'm just curious to know like the scale of its power. That also begs the question, is there other things that the Kinge that Talon has, like what else is it capable of doing, or is just opening the portal just its main thing, or is there other abilities to it? I don't know. I am very, very interested to see where all this ends up taking us going forward to the next episode. Last episode, I've thrown it out there because I hadn't looked at the IMDb to see how many episodes the season has. It does have 13, so we've got 3 more after this. So there's a lot that's going to go down, I'm sure, and I'm so curious to see what it is. But really, that's all I want to talk about. So the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.